All right, with video 3, we're going to, now that we've created an HTML page, we created a CSS style sheet, we've attached the two, we've got the two working, we're just a little disappointed in the typeface choices. I'll show you in general, the typeface choices fall under the category of font family. And the font families that I get to pick from are these. And really, if you think about it, there's billions of typefaces. That's not a very big choice. The reason those are the default choices because those are the typefaces that come with all computers, PCs, Macs, all over the world. A very limited number, and sure enough, they're going to make whatever you pick look like it was from 1992. So we're really not going to go that way. Another thing we're not going to do is apply this specifically to one rule at a time. Instead, we want it to apply to everything on our screen. And you remember that everything in the screen is all inside body. So let's make a rule for body. And we can kind of confirm that it's working by doing this. Background, color. I go to the color picker. What would be a good background color? I don't know. Maybe a light blue-gray or something. Okay. Yeah, a little dark, but whatever. Okay, so there it is. Again, I'm doing horrible in colors. I'm not working with a color palette. I should have made a plan before I did all this, but I'm winging it and recording it as I go. Okay, so now, instead of using these default typefaces, which very limited choice, we're going to go to the web. And in my opinion, the best place for web fonts, because they're free, is through Google. So I'm going to go to Google Fonts. Another thing I like about Google Fonts is I get to choose my classifications, not categories. And I'll say, oh, I want a sans serif. Yeah. And font properties, well, I need a lot of styles, so give me this many styles. All right, cool. And then the other thing I could do is I could just come over here and say, good advice for people with talent, copy. I could paste that right in there and get a preview of what I want. And I'm like, you know what? Poppins is the right one for today. Now you look at this and you go, well, what? You know, what? It's in that typeface? No. Poppins is a universal, so it supports multiple languages. And think about it, the web is a whole around the world, so it's got to be in various. I'm sure this will come in something else. Yeah, see, so we are seeing they're trying to say how universal they are in all their choices. So don't think that if you choose this, that this Asian typeface is the only one that's going to be seen or applicable. No. Instead, you get to choose exactly what you want. In my opinion, for an exercise, I'm just going to choose all of these since this is an exercise about typography. Google, by the way, encourages you to choose as little as possible because the longer the computer takes to read code, the slower it is. But in today's world, that's milliseconds. I think the computer can handle it. Okay, so this is the one I've chosen. I need to link this typeface to the computer, so I'll carefully select that and copy it. Now jump over, and I need to put this in the section for browsers, the head section. So there it is, and voila, nothing changes. And you might think, why didn't it change? It didn't change because the style did not tell it to reference any of the typefaces. It's now loading the typefaces, but the style sheet is not using the typefaces. So let's go grab this thing, font family, Poppins, sans serif, which means if I have Poppins loaded, use it. If you can't find Poppins, use any sans serif on this computer. So that's what it's doing. Obviously, it's loading Poppins, and suddenly my computer looks a little more current. Or my web page, I mean. Okay, I'm still not satisfied with the colors. But, you know, this is not a color demonstration. So let's, oh, it's yellow, green, yellow. We got to fix this one. You can't even, there's no contrast there. You can't see that. Okay, so yellow, green's where I started. Now go down to here. Okay. Now can you see it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, at least I can read. I get enough contrast. All right. Gives me a red. Why is it doing that? I don't see anything wrong there, so what it's doing. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to show you what's called a compound rule. Right now, all of these rules are singular. So they're all generic. In other words, H1 will only apply to H1 and nothing else, and that's it. And if I look at my source code, you know, I've used H1 one time, and so I've stylized it one time. Okay. But if I also look at my coding, I see that sometimes I have tags inside of tags. So here's strong inside of H2, and here's the letter I inside of H4. So that's an opportunity for me to get very specific and make very specific rules. Let's take this first one, H2, strong inside of H2. So I can say, okay, that's what strong is going to be like in general by default, but I could also make a very specific one, say H2 strong. So what does strong look like in H2? You always have to define the biggest thing first. And then you can make it uniquely different. So here's strong. And then I'll paste it there, so I'm not going to see any change. But now I could say, hey, I want you to be dark green. And I want your weight to be 900. Oh, okay. And, you know, maybe I could do, oh, this doesn't make sense, but text transform, and I could say I want you to be all capitalized, which means first letter capitalized. So, you know, I could do that. So that is called a compound rule, saying what does this look like when it's inside of that? And look at the order. Now come back here, look at this order. Strong is inside H2. H2 is bigger, this is smaller. All right, now here's another one. H4 is bigger, I is smaller. Okay, I'm just going to come down here, grab this, and for a moment, I'm going to change this one to those settings. So this is H4I. And, you know, it turns to be the same thing, but let's go more with this default. And once again, this color is kind of failing me because I can't even see a change. So I'll just make it this darker red. Okay, now you can see it, right? Where is it? Darker red. Where are you? H4I. Let's see. Silence. Oh, right there. No, it's not doing it at the moment. So what do I have wrong? Let's see, I got the H4I. So it should be this Abraham Lincoln one. Okay. Move that one, I want to do it. Okay, there. I put back the generic in. Does that take over? Answer, no. Okay, so it was just a computer delay. It wasn't an error in my coding. So sometimes Dreamweaver does have a slight delay. You know, you do some coding and it doesn't instantly show you. Now it did. Silence and Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so those are compound rules. Therefore, we've covered everything now that I wanted to. So there's your style sheet, attachment, compound rules, etc. Okay.